Hey everybody, this is James from Man Tripping and Men Who Blog, and we are here in another virtual tasting, this time featuring one of my favorite destinations that I am absolutely amazed at how fast these guys have been growing over the past few years. Temecula, California is located just kind of between San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County. Perfect location, but it was one of those places where I used to drive by 2 or 3 times a year while I was driving to Vegas. They kind of said, "Oh, there's wine country. We should go back there sometime." Uh, Years ago, I stopped, and it was one of the places where I said, "Hey, that's interesting. They've got wineries." But last year, I discovered that they have actually done a really amazing job of pulling themselves together, started to define what they are, who they were all about. It's got a great mixture of some great up and coming wines, as well as some really good kind of entertainment. You can see in my background, I've got Akash Winery, which has some awesome social distancing and really have adapted well to the new concerns. But rather than me talking about all that stuff, let me go and pass it around the horn. We're going to talk with Jon Bailey from Two Dad with Baggage, Tania Rubin from Wine Country Living, Heather from Danza del Sol, and Akash from Akash Winery, and Devin from the Temecula Valley Wine Association. So, John, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, and then also don't forget to plug in your awesome new cookbook. I can't wait to that. I think you said that's coming out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it is. Cheers, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm Jon Bailey from Two Dads with Baggage. I have a blog and we talk about food and wine and travel and fitness and lifestyle and a whole bunch of other things. And not so much travel these days. So a lot about food and wine. In fact, during this sort of downtime of non-travel, I wrote a cookbook. And it's called One Pan Cookbook for Men. So it fits really well into tonight's theme. But it's all about like easy recipes that are that you can make in one pan in less than 30 minutes. So we'll talk about that more later. But Tania, you are up. You go next.
I'm sorry if my eyes are averting downward. I'm trying to get the feed up in the Wine Country Living group. My name is Tania Rubin. I am a Temecula Valley enthusiast, a local realtor, and a couple of years ago I started the Facebook group Wine Country Living, which is kind of dedicated to everything fun and interesting going on in wine country on Facebook. And we have fun conversations during non-pandemic times. I do a weekly live as well called Temecula Uncorked, and just excited to be here and share some Thanksgiving wine pairing tips. I don't know who's next. Akash, how about you?
Sorry, I wasn't unmuting. Always technical difficulties. I'm Akash Patel from Akash Winery. I'm the owner and operator here. We stretch across 20 acres here in beautiful wine country, and we specialize in estate wines as well as other wines off of our estate. And we grow 5 different varietals here on property. We have a beautiful building to come do your wine tastings and beautiful patios and a cool loungy vibe to do tastings at.
I'm just gonna go and jump in because I hate awkward silences. Like I have to fill them. I am Devin Parr. I think my technical title is the brand marketing partner for Temecula Valley, Southern California Wine Country. What does that mean? It means I am basically the brand ambassador for the region. I have been in Temecula Valley for about, well, I don't live there. I live in San Diego, but hop, skip, and a jump away from Temecula. Been representing the region for about, I think, 5 years now. I've fallen in love with it. The properties are incredible. The wines are just world class. And, you know, I'm so thrilled to be here and represent the region that has been my baby over these 5 years and helps spread the gospel. Heather, you're up.
All right. Yay. So I know it's like, who's done it? It's like a thing here. So I'm Heather Brittany Rankin. Everyone just calls me HB for short. I'm a product of the 80s. I work for Danza del Sol. I do their elevated experiences, their tours. Via COVID now, we're all tableside service, so it's a little bit more elevated on its own due to this. I am a level 1 somm, a level 2 wine scholar. I'm a certified hospitality industry professional of the Temecula Valley. We just call them Chips.
Yay, Chip.
Yeah, Chip guy. And over overall, as I mentioned before, for Danza del Sol Winery, we're the 5th oldest winery establishment, the first winery established on the Deep Portola Trail. We grow 10 varietals on the estate, and what we don't grow, we try to source locally. This current season, all of our wines are wearing the Temecula label, and some are wearing the estate label too.
Yay.
And apparently people are calling in live.
You're so popular.
Popular right now.
So we do have the ability to pull people's comments in. So if anybody has a comment, feel free to comment. We'll be able to answer those questions. And then for the folks who are watching Tania in her group, if you post something, Tania will be able to let us know if anybody has any questions. So I'm really glad we were able to pull you guys together. One of the things that comes up this time of year is food pairing and wine pairing is something I think always happens, or at least happens a lot more frequently in my house than it probably ought to. But I think around the holidays, there's all sorts of questions about like, okay, well, I like these kinds of wines, but do they go well with this or go with that? And I think the ultimate answer is drink what you enjoy. But with that being said, we pulled together a pretty diverse group of wines here. We've got a rosé from Akash. We've got a Vermentino from Danza del Sol. We've got a Grenache from Akash again. The Syrah we have is also from, so that's from Danza del Sol. And then we are going to finish with a Zin from Akash. So to save our taste buds from going through 5 different wines in the next 15 minutes or so, we're only going to be tasting the rosé, the Grenache, and the Syrah. But I want everybody to think about what kinds of foods they think would pair well with each of those, and we're going to go through one by one. So let's start with the rosé. Akash, if you want to tell us a little bit about your rosé, and I'll let you kick off what you think would go well with it. So if everybody hasn't poured a glass yet, go ahead and let's pour a glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salut.
So here is our 2019 rosé that you all are drinking. It is definitely a Provence-inspired rosé. You can see that in the color and the bottle and everything we do. It's a beautiful bottle that we've decorated it into to kind of give it a much more elevated look. With this wine, it's actually a Zinfandel varietal, which is definitely not your typical Provence-style rosé, but Renato, our winemaker, I challenged him. I said, hey, we need a rosé, and he said, all right, we can do it from Zin. I said, all right, let's do it. And here we came up with a beautiful citrusy, floral, and bright with fresh fruit rosé. This is grown at the highest point of our winery, so it has the highest elevation with the Zinfandel, and it's all grown on a head train. So I think that this thing, if I'm doing the pairing, this is such a versatile wine. Definitely salads, but the acidity on this is going to cut through nice fatty meats as well. So you can even get your thigh from the turkey and do that, or your prime rib if you're cooking that at home. So cheers, everybody. Enjoy.
This is delicious.
Yeah, I really like it. It's very clean. I like the fact it does have a lot more acid than some without being overly dry, but I really like it.
Thank you.
So the one thing Temecula is missing is a Whole Foods. And so I had to learn how to make the smoky Gouda dip that you could only get at Whole Foods. And I feel like this would go really well with that smoky Gouda dip.
I know the Gouda dip you're talking about, the spicy one. And I actually, one day, because when I used to live in Hermosa Beach, and it's so small and so expensive, so I just flipped it over and I was like, I could make this. And I think this is awesome with that, actually.
Yeah, it is delicious, and it's not hard to make. It is not hard to make, and I always say if people come out to my events 4 times, then I give them the recipe.
So when I think of rosé,
I think would balance really well.
I got to get my hands on this Gouda dip. But when I think of rosé, I think of it as like my cooking wine, not wine that I put in the food, but like that crushable glass of wine you're drinking while you're prepping your food, and like you're grabbing a bite here and you're testing things. Like it's the perfect crushable, get ready for dinner cooking wine.
Definitely. It's very versatile in all angles.
So I want to know why rosé wine is like, why men have an issue with drinking rosé wine because it's such BS. I mean, it's like because it's rosé or because it's pink. I mean,
Well,
I won't swear on your show, but it's BS.
Well, you know, my view on this, and I had this discussion last year with Watergirl Rosé up in Longboard Vineyard in Sonoma, and this Israeli ex-army guy, ex-professional surfer, international man of mystery guy, loves his rosé, and we had the exact same discussion. At that time, I had the view that rosé is not manly, so I'm not gonna cover it. Kind of, do you have a good red? And it was kind of one of those things where we discussed the origins of rosé in America, and it really was like this kind of overly sweet, overly pink, suburban housewife kind of drink that you just dropped a couple, ice cubes in, and that's what rosé was up until I feel like maybe 10 years ago. And I say 10 years ago, but probably to the most non-wine nerdy people like we have on this show right here, 10 years ago was really like 2 years ago. But I don't feel that's an appropriate assumption for rosé anymore. And I think more guys should like rosé because it's an easy drinking, fun wine that you can have fun with.
I think if I'm not mistaken, in France, it's very popular with men. It's completely different than here, and I can't forget the numbers on it, but that's ringing a bell to me somewhere.
That's what he was saying exactly. That he said that when he's surfing in is it Navarre off the coast of France, he's like, well, we don't come off the waves and drink Merlot. That's something that's gonna be kind of relaxing and light until you don't get too sick. Yeah. And it's a very masculine thing in Europe, and that's true in France, but I think also in Spain and Italy as well.
Well, I think it's not always the Gallo refinery wine. Sorry, throw one, but like it's not always that high sugar. It was initially blended as something and probably like accosted over into a commercialized something that anyone who just wants to have something alcoholic and pink can drink.
Like Tanya, what was in
the early 80s and 90s? It was that sugary. I feel like it was like high school. Like it's not true. It's just rumor.
So, but what was that? What was the winery that made it so famous and everyone wanted? Sutter Home. White Zinfandel, right? White. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Well, this is altogether different. Akash, this is delicious and amazing. And asexual.
It's funny that you say this.
The non-binary wine.
Yeah, a lot of pronouns are they, them, there.
Yeah. Well, in all seriousness, and Akash, I would love to maybe have you back, and Heather, I'm sure you guys have a rosé as well, but I would absolutely love to do a very male-centered rosé show, or not rosé show, but rosé show, and kind of talk about male perceptions for wine in general. Because I think that certainly if I was very blessed to have the access to wineries and winemakers that I have, but I think a lot of guys still do have the perception that rosé is for girls, and the marketing doesn't help it. And I think the vast mass marketing, wine is certainly a woman's thing, whereas whiskey is a guy's thing, which is funny because I have a lot of female bloggers and lifestyle influencers who come to me and say like, I like whiskey. But they don't get invited to the whiskey trips, and I don't get invited on the wine trips. And so I think there's a lot of cross marketing there, which is a good thing for the industry to get people excited about everything.
But do you think it also applies to white wine? Like, I feel like white wine also suffers when it comes to men.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, it's less obvious than like a pink wine, but it just needs to be rebranded. Someone needs to do a brosé campaign and like make it.
Oh my God. That's perfect.
I like it.
That's perfect.
If only we had people who own PR and marketing agencies here on this show with us. I think half of us either do PR and marketing or own agencies. So
are there other agency folks? So I own an agency. Is there? Yeah, love it. Okay, we have to talk.
So, but
Well,
let's do that.
When I first moved to Temecula, I really didn't drink wine I primarily drank white wine red wine, and then occasionally sparkling just for like a special occasion. And really moving here, like you have to drink white wine for day drinking. There's like when it's 95 degrees, I'm not drinking red.
Well, Akash, when people come to the winery and they're going through the tasting, are you seeing this play out, or what are you seeing on property?
Well, it's funny you guys were talking about all this. Is a lot of times, often not, we get comments. Oh, this is a man's rosé. Oh, yeah, this is a man's rosé. A lot of men say that to us. So it's funny that this is a topic because often not every man will always like, no, I don't want the rosé, and we're like, okay, we won't knock it off your tasting card. Just try it, check it out, and then they're like, oh wow, this is pretty good. Often not, they're leaving with a bottle of that.
That was a good investment. Then you spent
technique, no
$1.50
kidding.
for the tasting and sold. I don't know what's the ARV on here.
On this one, the ABV.
Oh no, the
No,
price.
the price.
Oh, 35.
35.
Yep.
That's really nice considering how nice this bottle is.
Thank you. Yeah, we do a little extra with the packaging, but I think it goes a long ways for us.
There are a lot of really delicious dry rosés coming out of Temecula right now, so I think it's kind of a space to watch for the region.
Well, maybe the follow up is we do the brosé show.
I'm so down.
Featuring Temecula. Although you have to fight some of my friends up in Paso because I was talking about them as well. But anyhow,
we do a sparkling version of our rosé too, and
nice.
It's brut style dry.
You know, I had a Fuzzy Bunnies on Friday up at Somerset, and they had a really good sparkling rosé too, or at least it was a really fun one. I think sparkling rosé. I think it's just if you can't laugh at a funny label and smile drinking a bubbly rosé, then you're just someone who shouldn't be drinking. But your comment about the whites though, kind of I want to definitely watch the timing. You'd mentioned that kind of white suffer a little bit from the not being masculine enough, but I think this is the Vermentino is a great example. Unfortunately we're not going to be tasting this because I want to be able to savor this later rather than opening all these bottles at once. But I think Vermentino in general is it's definitely a heavier, more masculine, certainly a wine that doesn't feel feminine like some Chardonnays do. So rather than me talking about the wine, Heather, why don't you tell us a little bit about the wine and
Oh my gosh. So I absolutely love Vermentino. So fun thing, Vermentino is one of the rarest grapes in California. There's less than 100 acres. I think there's like 57 acres. You can Google it. So I just like to say less than 100. We're really proud that ours are coming from the small amount that is grown in Temecula. If you are a lover of Sauvignon Blanc, so that really bright in your face acidity, you're going to love Vermentino. I always say I get the burn for the verm. And on the nose and as well as in the palate, you get these appley pear notes. I almost get like a peachy candy, but not in a sweet way, just like that reminiscent of that candy when you're a kid. And in the mouth, it's like I literally bit into like a grapefruit. Like that's how I feel about this one. And because of that really bright acidity, I think is something that scares people. When you say acid, people think, ooh, that's going to be sour. But acid is your best friend when it comes to food. And I think the bizarre thing for me, I love Thanksgiving. I love cooking, but I'm a vegetarian. So even though I know the pairings for the meats, I'm always looking for what's going to be vegetable-wise. And first thing, if you're starting off your small gathering this year, charcuterie is such thing. We have a fantastic company locally in town called Grazing Theory, and they've really just made the mark of great cheese and wine pairings. And I think this goes great with really kind of salty, lighter cheeses. Parmesan, Pecorino, Manchego is a great neutral cheese. And then moving into your fresh dishes, salads, even something that like the buttery mashed potatoes, even though this is 100% stainless steel, no oak content. It gives you that squeeze of like when you take a bite of something, you need it to kind of refresh you out. And I think a great thing with Thanksgiving pairings is like much as the wine people want to believe the wine is the star of the show, it's really the food and it's really the family. So you need a good backup artist. You need the person that's, just beating the drums, doing well. And I think Vermentino is that perfect partner with all your fresh dishes.
So I don't have this wine in front of me, but I've had it before from you guys. And I don't think fried calamari is a traditional Thanksgiving dish, but that's what I wanted.
I love that. But that's what I love about Thanksgiving when I was talking to people is that, one, there are so many different flavors going on, but within your own family, I mean, I'm Italian, and so we always would have fish, like with Christmas things, there's always like a prime rib. And then there's like a big seafood, what's it called? Chipizio? Anyway.
Cipino.
There we go. Yeah, if you couldn't tell with these Italian hands everywhere. But, and how other people have different traditions with it, as well as, getting the Hanukkah and stuff. So I love the fried calamari. I think that's super cool. And this goes great with if you do the fried turkey thing or fried dishes, as well as the seafood. I mean, I would even, if you want to feel fancy and you're doing oysters this year, you could even do raw seafood with this. This is a great sushi companion too.
Well, Heather, so
and John,
I'm from my family's from Sicily.
Randy in the Wine Country Living Group, just circling to punctuate the end of our rosé discussion, did have to point out that Jimi Hendrix was a rosé drinker. He drank Mateus, which was horrible, but he wanted to chime in with that comment. Back to
rosé and rock and roll. I like it.
Right.
So I was saying that so my family's from Sicily, and our Italian tradition during the holidays is the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Have you heard of that, Heather?
Yeah.
So it's on Christmas Eve. It's 7 courses, 7 fishes, and this is perfect for that. It is such a perfect pairing for seafood, and I would drink this with like linguine with clam sauce or scampi, or as you said, cipino. Like, I love the idea of calamari, the fried calamari, Devin. I got to try.
Frito misto.
See. So yeah, it's like for the holidays, people always think of like turkey or roast beef, but there are other traditions from other cultures, and that Feast of the Seven Fishes is one that lends itself really beautifully to this wine and several of the others, the rosé as well. I mean, there's a lot of pairings here.
Yeah, I was thinking, John, it's too bad we didn't have a bottle of the Vermentino when we were down in Loretto last year.
Yes, and
the clams would go great.
And here's the thing: Temecula should be shipping their wines to Loretto because we did not have great wines when we were there, did we?
Yeah, I would say that the wines we had were not intended to be good. It was everything was. Well, no, there's a difference because in Valle you have some great wines. I'm not going to say anything bad about the wines generally in Valle, and that one Malbec it was a Malbec blend with Pinot that was served chilled was one of those bizarre wines that it breaks every rule that most California wine drinkers would think would be accurate. But it was a good light chilled wine that tasted good when it was hot. But it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was 95 points from Wine Spectator. I mean but it was just a cheap wine, for God's sakes. The bottle cost $5, which probably in pesos was probably quite a bit. But it was one of those wines that I enjoyed it. But the big issue I thought was the fact that they didn't have the selection or the pairing. I think everything was just a vino tinto or a vino rojo.
Roja, yeah.
And Blanco. And the white was always a very light Chardonnay, which just didn't work for me on the clams and the seafood. We ate so much fish down there. I needed something with a little acid, but
well, I'm loving
if that's
this.
what you're complaining
like,
about. I mean,
it's like I know we weren't supposed to, but I did. So here it is. But I like it. It's zippy. It's fresh. It's got a little zest to it. And when you talked about Heather, when you were talking about grapefruit, I was like, yes. Like, so anyway, love it.
And it kind of has this slight, almost like Italian, or it's an Italian varietal, and I feel like it almost has this kind of little herbaceousness on the finish, not as intense as like a Sauvignon Blanc, and that also makes it great if you're adding fresh herbs to things.
There are other great Vermentinos from Temecula Valley. It's the the region is known for all sorts of grapes, but Italian varieties in Temecula Valley really thrive. So, you know, Weens is doing a Vermentino, Hart's doing a Vermentino, Renzoni's doing a Vermentino, and they're all delicious.
Wow, that's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
also
had a
getting
lot of
some,
fun. Sorry, go on.
Kumquat melon in here. Is anyone else getting that?
Ooh. You know what? That's the fun thing about wine is it's all subjective. So I love if you're getting kumquat and melon, you are getting kumquat and melon. I think that's fantastic. And now because you said that, I'm gonna get that.
I wouldn't know a kumquat if it hit me in the face, to be honest. So
I have to admit, I'm there with you, Devin.
One thing I don't know if you guys ever do it. Actually, I know it actually pairs great with Akash's rosé as well as this Vermentino. Because we did for a previous thing last week for your previous vintage. But it's a very simple thing of just taking melon and wrapping it in prosciutto. So you kind of get those notes of the sweet, the salty, the acidity, and then finishing it with either the Vermentino or the rosé. It just kind of, again, gives that refresher, and it doesn't take away from anything from the food, and it doesn't, change anything in the wine. So little nibbles.
They're like the little orange fruits. They're like a little baby citrus.
I love that you just Googled that for me. I'm so appreciative.
I don't think it was just you.
It's one of those fruits where I say it and then I'm like, I don't actually know what that is.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of fun to say.
Yeah,
It is a fun one to say. I agree.
I always feel like people think I am saying a naughty word when I say that. They're like, no, it's fruit.
I wasn't going to go there, but you did.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. Sorry.
I'm thinking it, but I'm not saying it.
James, you were already talking about Suburban Housewives, so,
Yeah. No,
He walked right up
that's
to the ledge.
but that's what's really fun about wine is that it has that certainly that scholarly and academic side of it, and certainly the more time I spend with folks like you, Akash, and you, Heather, the more I kind of go down that rabbit hole of going like, I hadn't thought about that angle of it. But at the same time, wine is meant to be enjoyed. Like, you can just enjoy wine and have fun, and it has a bad rep among some people that it's unapproachable. But if you just kind of say, hey, you know what, I like my Vermentino and I'm going to have it with my turkey. Okay. As long as you're happy, who cares?
Yeah, that's the idea. Make
My
wine fun.
stepson is
It's not about being
level one son over at Palomar, and last Thanksgiving he made everyone drink Riesling with his turkey, which is, again, my husband resists any white wine, but it's trying things, and it was lovely with the turkey.
Well, speaking of turkey, let's transition to the Grenache.
Yay! Awesome. All right. So I hope if everyone has this. So this is our 2015 Grenache, 100% Grenache, 100% Temecula grown. We're very honored to wear that label. Kind of little side notes about this. I've talked about this before at Danza, but our owner, Mr. Robert Olson, before he started his voyage down the wine bunny trail, the bunny hole, Grenache was the wine that made him fall in love with wine. And so this is coming from his private estate. It's about a mile down the road from Danza del Sol. It's not grown at the estate, but at Danza, but everything is bottle produced, crushed, pressed, put into barrels. All the magic happens at Danza. And Grenache is genetically the same to Garnacha, we were saying, similar to how Pinot Grigio is to Pinot Gris. We were saying Grenache is that they're honoring the French version, so a little bit softer. Pinot Noir, there's a very small section in Temecula where it grows. We make a Pinot Noir rosé because we feel we can strip away some of the flaws, but we have no intention of ever making a dry red Pinot Noir. So enter Grenache. It is your great alternative for that. And sort of a sticking true thing that people always recommend is Pinot Noir at Thanksgiving time. So we actually recommend Grenache. This is going to be light body, low tannin, medium acidity, which, as much as I said before, as much as I would love to be promoting our big, bold Petite Syrahs or their Tempranillo, it's just not going to mix well with what's going on at Thanksgiving time. So So for myself, notes wise, I get this really kind of soft plum cherry. I say kind of creme brulee coming from the wood, or the oak, excuse me. And then there's herb wise, I would say kind of like rosemary, juniper. And because it's not so big and bold, there's a kind of slight little kind of roasted note with it. It's gonna go great with your turkey. Last night we made a kind of side dish. My husband sauteed mushrooms, spinach with roasted garlic in it. We paired it with this. It was phenomenal. Again, you just kind of want the backup or someone that's not going to override it. And you need something. The big tannins is just not going to work at Thanksgiving. So I think this is so phenomenal with that. And it has enough that it can even kind of slide into the little bit of spices. It can hold up to dishes, your yams. Again, everyone does Thanksgiving so different and cooks it so, but I think those kind of brighter things with it and light meats. And I always talk about, I don't know if any of you in my family, everyone makes the crazy sandwich the next day, which is basically like everything that the meal consisted of yesterday is like now a sandwich. And I think this goes great with this. It's sort of like your real holiday BLT, but it's like BLK, MMJ, everything else thrown in there. And I think this is just really elegant. And it's something I think that you can kind of ride all through the meal with. It isn't going to put you out. What is our alcohol on it? 14.2, which is still very masculine, but yet very dainty. I think this isn't going to have you passing out in your mashed potatoes before the party's begun. So cheers.
And you earlier were talking about different traditions from different families. That's something that, when I first started the discussion about the show about a month or so ago, my mind was on turkey. And then John started talking about Italian traditions and that kind of stuff. I'm looking at this wine, and certainly turkey is a great pairing. But I kind of feel like pork tamales would be good in here too, because the masa is has enough flavor, but is not going to overpower the wine, and kind of a little bit of the pork cutting through because the pork be relatively lean, so it's got a little bit of fat to cut through what little tannins are here. But certainly, as this country is certainly not just all Irish or all German or all Italian. That there's a lot of influences from around the world that are now becoming. I'm certainly not Mexican, but I love tamales for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So
it's funny because when you're saying that, I'm thinking of when I was thinking about this and prepping for the show. I love this wine with Italian sausage, so it's got that rosemary and that anise seed, and I like pork sausage. Heather, I'm sorry, it's not vegetarian, but it's got that interesting mix of it's herbaceous, it's got a little zing to it, but it's smooth.
The fennel, right? Yeah.
Yes. And when I'm drinking this, I'm tasting that. So I feel like that would be an interesting match. It really is. Again, Italian tradition sausages. During the holidays is definitely part of the deal. So it just, for some reason, that comes to mind.
I love it with smoked duck breast. If anyone's prepping that for Thanksgiving, I'd like an invite.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of whole foods. Oh my God.
Heather, I want to know, what do you crave for Thanksgiving, given that you are vegetarian and you don't eat the turkey?
And is your husband vegetarian also?
No, and that's so funny. I am the only one in my family, the little vegetarian sheep. And I've been a vegetarian now for 28 years. So it's not a fad. It's in me. But I still think things smell like when I smell barbecue chicken in the summertime, that reminds me, it doesn't ever make me want to eat it, but it's so nostalgic. It's like the suntan lotion. And it was so funny growing up that when I first became vegetarian, just because we grew up, we were in 4-H, if anyone knows what that is. And so I had livestock and I just had asked my mom and dad, why do we eat, them, but we don't eat the dog or the cat? And she was, I don't know. And I just kind of like, yeah, well, you know what? They're my friends. I'm not going to. And it doesn't bug me at all. I feel like to each their own. I'm not trying to, as long as we can all kind of have our own mixtape. I'm not trying to get anyone to listen to my band. But
do you eat the sides or do you
oh
do
my
the
gosh,
tofurkey?
do I eat the sides? Yes.
You eat the sides.
So I and we, as I mentioned before, my family grew up farm stuff. So I've always just been, and being Italian, there's always something cooking. Feeding is part of is just part of our religion, I feel. So I love, we call it Nani Salad. My grandmother, that was in Italian, we call her Nani, and it sounds so simple, but it's Walla Walla onions, fresh tomato, fresh cucumber, and avocado, just tossed with a very like balsamic and oil and vinegar kind of style. And oh my God, it's so good. And I love the mashed potatoes, the creamier, the better. I make a vegetarian stuffing. There's yams. I have a terrible sweet tooth. I love the pies, pecan pies, pumpkin pie. And you had mentioned earlier about the Riesling. I know I just sneaking that in. Riesling, we do a slightly off dry one. And I think that's such a great thing for either your desserts or like the honey baked ham. We actually, we have a beehive at our house, so we can harvest our own honey. And so this year I'm going to try to integrate some of the honey stuff into it. Which will be exciting. But I love, arugula. The possibilities are endless, especially now with the internet. You just Google Thanksgiving and it's like, these are the 400 sides you could choose from. So yeah. And and any cheese dishes. I wish I hated cheese, but I love it so much. So yeah. I think honestly, what surprises people is really the only thing at Thanksgiving that is like so meat is the turkey or the ham or prime rib if you do. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much vegetarian in that sense. So come on over to the veg side.
Not necessarily vegan, but you're good on the
yeah. Oh gosh, if I couldn't be vegan, I love dairy too much, but definitely
I have friends that make that happen, and I'm with you. I'm like, I don't know how you live without the butter.
Oh. Right. Oh gosh, no. And heavy cream, making whipped cream, mascarpone. Oh my God. Sorry, there's so many little Italian flares that come in here. My grandma was a great cook. I mean, we even would have like raviolis before Thanksgiving. It was just a non-stop festival of food, which I guess that's what Thanksgiving really is. And
you're really making me hungry now.
Yeah, right?
So when I was growing up, we would play tricks on newcomers. And somebody would be dating somebody and they'd come to family dinner and they didn't realize what an Italian family dinner is like. And so the pasta would come out or the ravioli would come out and they would think that was dinner. And so they would eat. Yeah, so they would eat and then they maybe ask for seconds, and my mom was more than happy to serve them more. So like they'd get another serving. And then that would go away, and then would come like the roast or the prime rib or and their eyes would get like this, and we just laugh and laugh, and and then the salad, and then the dessert, and then you sit around.
And I think Eastern European traditions are a lot like that too, because it sounds very similar to stories that my wife has shared about Poland and that I experienced over in Ukraine. So But yeah, that sounds really good. I wish we had somebody to cook dinner for us this year.
I lived in Italy for 2 years when I was studying wine, and I actually had to force myself to leave because that really is legitimately lunch. You go to a 3-hour lunch where it's like this primo, secondo, it's like you're having your appetizer and then the salad course and then the pasta course and then the meat course and then the dessert and then don't forget the biscotti and the Vinsanto, and it's like I gained 17 pounds my first year there.
But think of all the wine you get to drink throughout
Absolutely.
that process. You're having Akash's rosé, to start, and then you're having a little you go through the whole thing, and you have this whole kind of smorgasbord of foods and wines, and that's why you sit there for so long. A meal is 4 hours long, and it's totally enjoyable because you're savoring each course and drinking a wine and getting up and walking around and coming back and sitting down. Yeah, it's all good.
I did go to school with one girl who was both lactose intolerant and a vegetarian. And I was like, you came to Italy? Come on.
Yeah. Misplaced.
Well, I'm curious here because Akash, I'm assuming you're Indian, based on your first and last name. So what kind of traditions?
First and last name, don't give it away.
What kind of traditions do you guys have as far as bringing, Indian heritage to American Thanksgiving?
Indian heritage to make American Thanksgiving in our household was go to an American's house for Thanksgiving. we would always go to friends and family's house for Thanksgiving, and kind of just feast on Thanksgiving food. We wouldn't bring really an Indian flair in our family to our Thanksgiving meal. The only thing we would make was an Indian dish, and we would always bring something like tandoori chicken or like a lamb curry and just make it a part of it, because at the end of the day, for us, Thanksgiving is just people coming together, family coming together and just giving thanks and enjoying food, enjoying wine, stories, and all that, and seeing each other that you haven't seen in a very long time. And we are very, I would say, I'm very American.
I do hear you make
state.
a mean chicken tandoori.
I do. I use my dad's recipe, and I would actually barbecue for all the guests here pre-COVID. Every quarter, I would barbecue for all of our wine club members, and I would make an arrangement of different Indian food, and then I'd have my dad help me. I would have a friend help me, and we would make all this like tandoori chicken, chicken tikka masala, and then a nice bean dish, a garbanzo bean dish that's out of this world.
Yeah, I missed the last one.
That's
but
fun
now
stuff.
I'm
That's
really
not big.
regretting it.
Oh my God. Okay, so can you let us know when this is over and we'll all come? Because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll try and finish
Thank
up this
you.
COVID.
I appreciate
quicker.
that.
Get on it.
We've got things to do. We've got places to go.
He's about to announce a vaccine. That's actually why we're all here.
Yeah,
Right?
Akash is going to unveil his.
I tell everyone this is a vaccine right here. This is your vaccine.
But I think, Akash, I'm so happy you brought that up because I feel like it's such an important differentiator for Temecula Valley is this sense of community. And it really feels like one big family. I mean, it's a big region, but it's a small region. And, winery owners and winemakers are regularly sort of opening up their doors to cook for people and have these like backyard barbecues. And it just feels like a great community.
Yeah, we're all neighbors here. We're not very far apart in our wine country. So we're all I'd say pretty close.
100%. Devin, you brought up such a great thing. I think it blows my mind always when I hear that both Temecula and Murrieta, which are basically like a sister town, are over 100,000 people in population. That just sounds so big to me. But at the same time, it is such a small town feel, especially out in wine country. I feel like everyone knows each other within the wineries, and there's such a wonderful support for wine club members, especially during this COVID time when at the very beginning when it was kind of frightening of, all right, everything's shut down and we're so used to so much of, traffic of doing the wine, of doing the thing for everyone. And now, oh my gosh, what do we do now? People, they're not coming out here. As someone mentioned before that, we don't ship all that. Temecula is just starting to get its little breadcrumbs across the country and people hearing about this place, Temecula. But really what's been amazing is during this time and thanks to technology, things like this, that having these Zoom sessions that now we do a lot of, IGTV lives and just getting out there. And really the wine club has just gone up and people have really showed this sense of community. And we miss so much. We used to, do so many the ugly Christmas sweater party and the Halloween the things that we just at this current moment are safe to do. So as we all are just waiting for the moment when we can. But I think in this crazy bizarre time, it's really shown us of how not just how much people love wine, but people love all the people surrounded with wine. I feel like the community has really come together. So it's.
And I think what's cool too is small businesses and all of us, we've all been working with each other to promote each other and promote cool things with each other to give to the customer and give an awesome experience. So I think it's cool. We have a lot of craft places here, and I say craft because it's mom and pop or somebody trying to make something that's new and innovative and small, and it's small batch. It's not chain or major stores. And we've all been a community just kind of working with each other.
I think when I was doing that I haven't done the in-person Temecula and Corks, but one of the things that struck me the most as I've interviewed a number of the winemakers, and you and I have sat down, is just how much support the wineries have for each other. To kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Akash, is just like when one guy has the sandbags for the water that's flowing in a storm, or the crusher that stopped crushing and they're done, like they really, like, over and over again, I would be blown away by the different stories of just like, stop everything, help these guys. And, you know, even though they're competitors, they're neighbors, and they really recognize that build everyone up and the region will be better versus trying to stab the neighbor in the foot. And
I would never say there's competition. There's so much to go around here. We're surrounded by 20 million people. There's plenty to go around here with 50, 60 wineries, 100 wineries. We can all help each other out and work together. And I think building this wine country is huge, to work together, because we all need to elevate together. Otherwise, we won't, keep inclining like we have been over the past 3-4 years.
What's amazing, though, is from my outsider looking in and hearing the stories, is it's not just lip service about talking how we can work together. You actually like hear all of the nitty gritty stories and really do like genuinely have this camaraderie and unity that's remarkable to see from someone. Hearing the stories on the outside and going, oh yeah, everyone says that, but from the stories I hear, everyone walks the walk and talks the talk.
Well, I think one of the unique things too for me about Temecula compared to, say, a Sonoma or even a Paso Robles or Robles, as it were, and Centena's Valley, is that because you guys are so close together, that just by the nature of the geography, you guys are going to have somebody that's going to go to 2 or 3 other places. Whereas, if you went to Paso and you went to, Adelaide, the person could be there and it's going to take you 15 minutes to go someplace else. And so it's more self-contained there. And certainly Napa has exploited that as well, where, you come for a wine tasting, but nobody comes there for a wine tasting. They also go for a tour, and they also go for lunch, and then they go for dinner. But I mean, literally you're, I could walk to across the road to Windermere, and in 5 minutes, and I could, assuming I could cut through the woods a little bit, go over next door to them too.
It happens all the time where people just walk on this kayak and Tento trail. It's small, tight, and all family owned properties.
So, I love the diversity. I think the great thing is we're almost at 50 wineries now. But everyone is so different. So I love when people are like, I send people to Akash all the time when they're like, I'm like, if you want like a beautiful vibe, great wine, like their winery, it's like one of those, you go sit outside. Anytime I stop by there, I'm like, I just want to hang out for a while. Like it's so beautiful and it's so chill and hip, but yet not in that stuffy way. And then we've got the kind of old kind of mom and pop ones where there's no real show going on, but it's great wine. Or we have ones that have hotels. I think people are always so amazed when they say, that, I was just at Sex and Slip Winery. And we're like, oh, that's awesome. What do you like over there? That instead of us being like, oh, we were there, well, we're better that we're like, oh my gosh, did you try this and this? And here's a 2-for-1 to go to this other one. And people are always amazed when we tell them about another winery to go check out. Like, isn't that your competition? It's like, no, I mean, when we succeed, when we all succeed, it brings us up. So I think it's so exciting when, a new kid comes in town, or, so when a winery is going to add an extension on, or they're, now they have a patio, or now they have an inn connected to it. I think it's all things that lures people out, because there's something, everyone has something different when they come out there. I always kind of relate wine and music, bring it back to that Jimi Hendrix and the rosé, I think wine is universal, or wine and music is universal. We don't all like the same thing. So I think it's great when people come out here and they can find their rock and roll, or their classic rock, or their pop. And there really is all those kinds of things out there. And everyone has another recommendation of, well, if you like this, you might like such and such. So I think, Temecula, it really is one big wine family.
And I get a lot of those questions in the group. Like people, will ask, well, what winery should I go to? And it's like, well, what are you looking for? You actually have to dial it in more, because there's so many different experiences you can have, and trying to create a diverse tour versus just like go to the 3 most popular. Well, what's popular? So we always have different kind of question threads about, wineries for dog lovers, wineries with, the views, the hotels, the mom and pop, the small intimate, the ones where you can have the picnic in behind and no one will bother you, even on a Sunday or a Saturday. Like there is really a way to have the experience you want here.
Well, Tanya,
Well,
that's an interesting point too, in that unlike a lot of other regions, most other wine regions, there's lodging and dining literally among the vines in Temecula Valley, and it's allowed there. Whereas most other regions, you're not actually allowed to have a restaurant at the winery or a hotel at the winery. So it's a nice differentiator.
We stayed at Carter Estate last year, and it was
Gorgeous.
absolutely fantastic. But I'm amazed at how, and then we got to switch gears to the Syrah, lest I forget our last two wines. But I'm really amazed at how fast the development is there. That if I look and say 3 years ago, I think Heather, you guys are brand new in the last year or two, and I know Akash, you are too. And I look at Europa Village is I think Europa Village may have been around, but they're just exploding now with new stuff. You got Somerset is a new name and a new establishment. So I think it's amazing how fast it's growing, and it's evolving in quality just as fast as it is opening. It's not just people saying, I can open a winery, but they're actually innovating too.
And yet in 2018, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the first commercial winery. So we have been around for a while.
Yeah.
Well, certainly I think Temecula has the heritage, but I feel like certainly in the last 5 years, Temecula has gone from, oh, there's a winery, to I'm going to go make a trip to Temecula, as opposed to, especially with the casino there, I think a lot of people probably came to Temecula to gamble, and then say, well, let's go and wine taste because we can't just be on the slot machine all day.
Yeah.
But I would recommend anybody in the Southern California area coming to Temecula now to stay and do wine tours, as opposed to, just to go to the casino, for instance.
Well, it's a
Well,
week.
James, you mentioned the last 5 years. I've been here for 5 years, so I think maybe there's a correlation. Just saying.
Well, it's absolutely because of Devin Parr's marketing ability.
But
Well, one
also,
thing before we pass the mic to Akash to talk about the Syrah, we were just talking about experiences, because experiences have been kind of put out a limit this year, due to COVID. I think one thing that is so awesome that Akash's Winery is doing, and I think it's what everyone really needs right now, is that they do yoga on Sundays outside. So it's you're outside in the air, and a safe distance, and they even have a yoga and wine club together. And I think that, like, why not compare to very Zen things? So I think right now we've had to strip away a lot of our, experiences where we're driving people around or we're in confined things. So I love that they have this sort of Zen Sunday.
Was that very Zen things or very Zen things?
Very Zen. Ooh, but I like Zen and Zen. Maybe it's Zen. Maybe it's.
I like it. I might have to steal that one. I might have to steal this one.
So the question
don't
is,
forget about the drive-in movies. They were amazing this summer.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think
Let's
it's
move on
great
to Syrah.
about
That was
keeping the fun up with I totally forgot about the outside. I'm still creating a normalcy and a fun, something that when people come out that they're like, I want to go do something. Yes, this summer they had this giant big screen that was out there.
Nice.
That was the drive-in movie. They created drive-in movies, and how cool and sexy is that you can drive up, get some bottles of wine, have some food, watch a movie, have that sense of normalcy that we once had.
Nostalgic normalcy.
Yeah.
well,
All right.
let's go and talk about Syrah. Because we had a challenge when Devin and I were talking earlier. We're like, okay, we've got the Syrah and we've got the Zin, and both of them would be great for a couple different pairings. But we ultimately chose the Syrah, and if you could tell us a little bit about the Syrah and kind of how Syrah and Zin would be kind of maybe compatible with some pairings, but both would have their own unique flavor profile.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with this Syrah in specific, it's definitely a lighter Syrah. It's only barrel aged for 14 months. You're going to see more fresh fruit in this wine, but darker fruits, currant, blueberry, blackberry. But the finish, you're going to get like almost a breath of fresh air on the finish with little herbaceousness at the end. And I think, again, this wine's very versatile, but I'm thinking sides with this one: mashed potatoes, your stuffing, and also, kind of like what you said, when you're just cooking and figuring it out, I think this wine is so light and easy drinking that it's one of those that you can just kind of hang out and sip on and not necessarily need to even pair it up with a specific meal. It's going to be very versatile in its form. Just that's the nature of what we've created here with our Dreamville line in general, is to be easy sippers, light drinking, and ready to go wines that you can just pair up with almost anything. Maybe not a salad, but I would definitely stay more on the heavier side with this one.
Initially, Devin and I were thinking kind of more of a
Prime rib.
like some prime rib, or maybe a Hanukkah brisket or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is a lot lighter than I was expecting. So I'm wondering.
14 months in the barrel, all neutral French oak on this wine. So we kept it light, didn't over oak it. We definitely didn't want to overcompensate the fruit. The fruit is beautiful on this wine, and we wanted to showcase it as much as possible.
Well, Syrah in general, like, of course, we look at regions and we want to pin a specific grape variety on them all the time, Napa Cab and Italy Sangiovese. But Temecula, like we've talked about, does a lot of great things. But if we had to pick, say, 2 grape varieties that I think we could potentially hang our hats on, it's Sangiovese and Syrah. And, this is such a great example of the potential of Syrah for the region, but also, the depth and breadth of the different styles of Syrah, because we do have those heavier, really peppery, riper styles, and then this more elegant, almost French style, really.
We are looking more at a French style here for sure. Even with, I think, most of our program, we're trying to go after that kind of style. And this one definitely shows for itself. Multiple awards in the 90-point range from Wine Enthusiast and the Sommelier Challenge. And in the Sommelier Challenge, it took Best of Syrah class. So I think thank you. Yeah, this one was a heavy hitter for sure for us.
It sounds like somebody's got some construction going on. Is that you, Akash, or is that?
It is. I'm at the winery, so there's still some noise being made. But it's there. Yeah, we're cleaning up, closing up the shop for the day. So
No worries.
High degree of authenticity.
Yeah.
Is that Bodie in the background? Is it Bodie?
Brody's right underneath me. Actually, he's right here.
Got the cutest. It's a golden doodle, right?
Come here. Yeah. Come on.
He's so cute.
Aww.
Yeah, that's Brody right there. He's always here.
Best life ever.
Yeah, he's helping me taste the wines too.
So does he have a storybook, or is that a wine label back there? I see Doodle.
Oh, no, this was a book me and my wife we found at Artesta Winery in Napa. We're members there. We love the winery, and we saw this, and it was a little motivation to hopefully get this guy in here one day.
Gotcha.
That's so
Cool.
funny.
A fun thing about the Syrah too, and Akash, you could probably touch on it better. This may sound bizarre, but we have friends that are British, and there's a lot of Indian infusion in Britain.
Oh, yeah.
And when we were over there, like I had so many amazing Indian dishes that I came out, I was like, oh, I love curry. And Syrah, or Shiraz as they're having over there, it was one of those things, as we know that sometimes spicy food or things that got kind of like curry kick to it destroy wines, and you're like, well, that was not a good decision. And I feel like Syrah really stands up with that. So I think it'd be kind of exciting. I don't have any curry on our planned menu, but you kind of inspired me of like, well, let's see.
I think the wine is fresh. It's very fresh. So with that spicy notes, that it's going to complement and cut through that spicy and not kind of encourage the spiciness. It's going to help it.
John, I want to know what recipes from your book go with these wines.
Well, with this one, I'm thinking first for Syrah, I would normally say like a beef, like a roast, a little bit fatty, just to get that unctuous flavor along with that sort of peppery wine and have the nice combination. I have a recipe in the book for barbecue short ribs that I think this would go really well with. because it's kind of sweet and tangy, and this wine would even it out beautifully and complement some of those flavors and spices. So this is the kind of wine that I think is very drinkable with a lot of things. So, back to the Italian thing, I would serve it with any Italian dish, but I'd also serve it with pot roast, because pot roast and mashed potatoes and carrots and all that stuff that's super traditional American food, this would taste so delicious with. And the thing is, like, it's fun to take really traditional American food that people would normally, like, I don't know, maybe drink a beer with, and put it together with a sort of a nicer pairing of a wine like this one. This one is so drinkable that it could go with so many things. And, again, we're talking about the wine thing and the beer thing. I just feel like you're making wines that are so easily paired with many different dishes. So it's much more approachable. The thing I love about Temecula is that it's so approachable. You guys are chill. You're not putting on airs. You're not trying. It's never snooty. Whenever I come up there, I don't ever feel like that. It's genuine. People are wanting to help me understand what I'm drinking. And I'm no expert. I'm not, I'm not Tania, or I don't know wines other than I like it or I don't like it. So I'm learning, and you are teaching me.
I'm right there with you, by the way. I'm no more expert than you are.
Well, that's what's so beautiful about visiting the Temecula appellation, is that you're all just teaching us. You're like, we're all in this together. And that's an amazing thing. If you visit a different wine area, you might, I feel intimidated a lot of times. Like I'm supposed to know something I don't. Like I'm on the outside of, and looking in. I never feel that way in Temecula. Regardless of, where I visited or what kind of wine I'm drinking, or who I'm with, or what the circumstances are, it just feels really, really natural and approachable. So kudos to you guys.
There's a reason wine enthusiasts named us one of the top 10 wine destinations in the world, not just in the United States last year. And I think that it's been well earned. And like you, oh my goodness, not Heather, Devin?
Yes.
Devin. We moved here 6 years ago, I think. And so it's just been amazing to kind of jump in and learn more and become a part of the community. But it's really remarkable what's being built here.
Agreed.
I would agree with that. And also there's a lot of places I think that are approachable to wine, but not everybody has the technical sophistication and the hospitality infrastructure that Temecula does. Like for instance, I say I didn't grow up, but my love of wine matured in Southwest Michigan, and Southwest Michigan has some good wines. They were fun, very approachable, very much depended on the hospitality versus the quality of the wines, in terms of kind of global quality. But I feel like Temecula, especially in the last few years, has gotten wines that, if you had placed this, the Syrah in front of me and said it's a California wine, I wouldn't have said Temecula. I would have, I would have said, oh, it's great. It's a good California wine. And so the community is evolving where you still have the hospitality and you still have the welcomeness and the openness, but you're also having the wines that, if you are someone who's looking for a more sophisticated palate, that's looking for something, to challenge their tasting ability, you have that too. And certainly, like the folks over at Carter Estate are very nerdy and very technical in their in the way they're developing their wines, and that's great, because over at South Coast, which is same company, same people, it's very much a open, come as you are and grab a glass of wine and have some fun, which is kind of how the rest of the valley is. So I think it's a wonderful place to visit, and it's so close. It's only an hour and 10 minutes from downtown San Diego.
Well, it's a day trip. We go up there, to day drink and chill, and then we have a nice dinner and wait for things to settle, and then we drive home. It's I live in San Diego. It's a very, very easy hop.
Well, it's also, it's one of those places where you can come during the week and your odds of running into the winemaker or the winemaker being there and actually pouring your wine, or like if you're lucky, they sneak you back and you get a barrel sample or a taste from the tank. I mean, that happens regularly.
Well, that happened to me at two different wineries on Friday.
On a Friday, too. See? There you go.
I was at Vineyard, and I didn't know who the winemaker. And frankly, the winemaker at Vineyard was wearing a Heart shirt. So I was like, "Oh, are you guys associated with Heart as well?" And he goes, "No, I just like the winery." I go, "Oh, are you one of the winemakers?" He goes, "Yeah." And they were sampling something out of the barrel. They had it in, I don't even know what it was. It was just in a decanter, but it was one of those things. To your point, I mean, it was Heather and I, my wife and I, and 3 tasting people and the winemaker at the tasting area, and it was very much of a chill, fun experience. And then we went over to Somerset, and I mean Somerset was a completely different experience with much more wine parties and bachelorettes, and they have a fantastic place for that. But at the same time, we were talking to one of the people there, and we got a taste of stuff out of the tank for the new 2020 Maestro, which obviously what we had is unfiltered and raw, but it was a fun experience that you're probably not going to get at most other wine areas around the country.
I love that you said about wearing the shirt. I'll just say we're very proud of everyone's accomplishment. Today, I was at the grocery store and I was rocking my Batch Mead hat. Batch Mead is a local meadery.
Love those guys.
Oh my gosh, so good. And so I was rocking that, and I walked into someone, they were wearing a Lormar shirt, and it just easily started this conversation. It was like, oh no, and you see that all over time. We love pepping everyone else up. There's that thing of like, hey, we're all in this together, and I think the quality of stuff too is so good here that I feel so proud anytime I give not only a Danza del Sol bottle, but a bottle coming from Temecula, because as I mentioned before, we're just starting to get our name out in other little regions, and people might know only one place, and I feel like the quality is so incredible out here that we're so proud to talk about everyone else's accomplishments, that it isn't like, oh yeah, this one too. The stuffiness is gone. The wine is here.
And I would say your odds on a weekday are probably, like you said, James, really like you're probably 20 to 30% that you're going to run into an owner or a winemaker or one of the leadership members at any winery.
I mean, where else can you really have that experience? Like, I mean, that's very, very uncommon these days.
Mm-hmm.
And Sandy Inez used to be like that. It's not. It's just not anymore. Maybe Buellton, maybe, but there's not a lot of places in California where you can really have an experience like that. And I just love it. So you guys are killing it.
James and John, are both coming from San Diego? Is that where you guys?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm in San Diego.
I was an Aztec many moons ago, so I lived in San Diego for 10 years. So many of my tribe is still in San Diego, and I love we're able to lure our friends out here because we are less than 90 minutes from the beach, and then you can go to Palm Springs, you can go to Idlewild, you can go to Big Bear, and people are so amazed when this is the starting point of how close, an hour and a half, I mean, given traffic to Los Angeles, that's always another thing. But
not right now.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
That's where we moved from. We moved from Los Angeles, and my husband's in entertainment. And when we can get friends down here, I feel the same way. It's like, depending on the friend, I know the exact tour to take them on, to have them look at us at the end of the time and go, oh, now I get it. And when they hear we moved to Temecula, they're like, what were you thinking? And then they come down and they're like, oh, because we live like a mile down the road from Mazia.
Yeah,
and your sister property. And it's like, you come out, so you have that, but then you like go to, the winery that I know will kind of hit their hot buttons depending on who it is. And at the end, they're always like, okay, now I see what you were doing there.
We were calling it our Southern California Napa. And pre-COVID, when this year, sadly, it was a virtual, but the Animal Crush event, my family, they actually grew up in Napa, and this was my whole family would come down. This was such a special event from them. They just loved one to get to try all the different wines, but just to see that fun of community and just how hip and cool and how it was just a whole weekend of every winery had something going on. And then there was the main Crush event that featured all the wineries. And I think, when things get a little better, we can start having more of these events again. But I think the amazing thing is that Temecula really is its own entity. We've touched on so many things, that it has great wine, that it has community, it has so many various experiences and different varietals. We are that kind of secret little gem. Just hide. You could go to the beach, you could go to the desert, but come see us first, and then bring those things to the beach and the desert. Wine travels.
Well, no, I don't.
Love fest.
I want to make sure we don't forget about Akash's Zin.
That would be a Zin.
So, Akash, why don't you tell us a little bit about your Zin and kind of what your thoughts are on what would pair with it?
Okay. Sorry, getting a phone call.
Like,
Sorry about that.
You are the 25th caller.
So this is our 2017 Zin that everyone's drinking, grown right here on our estate. So oddly enough, that is what we use to make our rosé and our sparkling rosé. This one definitely going to feel that presence of jam in the beginning, and then you're going to get hit with some spices throughout in the middle, and nice toasty notes on the end, but a silky smooth finish. It's not a high volume on alcohol for a Zin. It's definitely on the lower side. So it's very balanced. It doesn't give you that big burn here like some Zins can. You're not going to get that over-ripened fruit on this one. Again, more looking for that fresh fruit and exploiting and like showcasing the fruit is what our ideas are with wine.
It's so elegant. Like it's not. There's like not a hint of jammy, cloying. I mean, it is like an elegant Zin.
It's just subtle presence is what we try to do with our wines, with fruit notes, but fresh fruit, not over oaking and killing the fruit. That's not what we're here for. But this I think is like Thanksgiving in a bottle. Zinfandel, I feel like for me is so versatile. I think turkey, cranberry sauce all day. That's what I'm. Ham, yeah, definitely. This is my main course for Thanksgiving right here.
So
when I was over there on Friday, I saw you also have a taco stand.
You were here on Friday?
I was there on Friday. And looking back at it, I mean, I had a great time at the other places. But looking back at it, I'm like, well, shoot, why didn't I just stay there? Because you guys had a taco stand, you had great bathrooms set up, you had plenty of place to spread out, and if you wanted to hang out with friends, I guess you shouldn't be hanging out with friends right now, but hanging out, with people in your same household, you had the couches. But you also had the seats down the second level where if you wanted just two people sitting there and enjoying a glass or a bottle of wine, you had a great facility there where that's not how it is everybody. So
thank you. Yeah, we try to carve our piece of property out in the middle of the vineyard, so everywhere you're looking, you have 360-degree views of just beautiful vines and a nice lounge patio with that vibey feeling. I wish I known you were here on Friday. I was probably here. I wish you would have stopped me.
Well, to be fair, our intention originally was, okay, let's run up to Temecula, let's pick up the wine, and then come back. And then on the way out of your driveway, we're like, well, while we're here, we should go check out this. We should check out that. And, c'est la vie. But, at this point, I know we will absolutely be back because I was very impressed by how well you've adapted, because I felt like there was a good space to spread out, but it also was designed. Not only were there chairs and tables that were distanced, but there was kind of a traffic pattern where not everyone's going to be congregating in the same spot.
Yeah,
and certainly the bathrooms, the fact that
mask control like crazy.
Some folks have the porta johns, and that I guess that's what you got to do sometimes, but. It looks like yours are definitely more permanent, and the fact that you had the taco guy there, but that the whole package was very good. So we will definitely be back there.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So Akash, I have a very close family friend who's a somm in New York City at La Bernardin, and now she's at Wine Spectator they have a wine bar now. She said that this wine would pair really well with curry. Her name is Sydney. Som Sydney is her, at Som Sydney, if you want to look her up. But so would it go well with a curry?
In my opinion, yeah, I would say so. I think, again, it's subtle, where it's not going to, the alcohol isn't going to enhance the spice, where it's going to complement it. Maybe another Zin maybe not be too good to complement a curry, but I would say since ours is so much lower in alcohol and you're not going to get that burn from the higher alcohol and the higher acidity, this is a much more mellow, balanced Zin. So I think it would complement a curry, but not, I don't know if I would necessarily pair that with a curry.
Especially if it's not, because it's not overly tannic, and I feel like tannic with spicy foods is like a nightmare.
No, not good.
Nice
Yeah.
Fruit forward.
Well, I know we got to wrap up in just a few moments, but I definitely, thank you everyone for joining us. And I want to give you guys both a chance to talk a little bit about your wine club for just like a 30 seconds, to a minute. What kind of how it's structured and how it's how people can sign up. Because I know one of the things that's, especially for the next few weeks, anyhow, at least in Southern California, people are not supposed to be traveling. So it seems like the quarterly stuff is probably coming up with you guys as well. How do people sign up if they want to become wine club members and take advantage of this quarter's shipment?
Okay, I'll go first.
You first, and then I'll go.
So with us, we have your basic wine club, 3-bottle quarterly commitment, no membership startup cost or any fees associated with it, and you're going to get great discounts on tastings inside our tasting room. But we also have what I think is what I would like to showcase here is our more fun interactive clubs. Like HB mentioned earlier, our yoga wine club. That's a really fun one. You're going to get a glass of wine, and you're going to get to do yoga, and you're going to get a bottle to take home. $45, you can't beat it. 2 classes a month. But also, if you're a foodie, we have our wine club that is integrated with the Naughty Pig Butcher, which is a local butcher shop here, and we call that the Supper Club. And what that is you're going to get a meal kit that you're going to make for you and your spouse, or you and a friend, for 2 people, and you're going to share a bottle of wine that Chef Daniel over at the Naughty Pig has thought this is going to pair well together. So you're going to get a really custom meal there with a full recipe and a video with me and Chef, kind of going over the wines and exploiting, going over what's going to pair well with it and just opening up to our customers. And it's very interactive with that one. And then you're also going to be, since you're in the club, we are going to be hosting bi-monthly dinners for anybody that's in that club. So it's a really cool one. I think the interactive ones is what's really fun, and everybody's got the main core club where you take 3 bottles, but we got some fun ones here.
Now, is that the meal kit one? Is that only for people to pick up at your winery, or are they shipping that as well?
Right now, pickup. In the future, we will be shipping it. We've just started it, so we are working out the kinks, making sure everything runs smoothly, and at some point, we will start shipping everything. So it'll be like your monthly subscription box, but a little bit more elevated with an awesome chef, awesome wine, and a cool experience at home.
Well, that sounds awesome. If Devin wants to pick one up and bring a shipment back down to San Diego.
How much prep is, like, when you're talking about a meal kit, non-cooker over here, how much are we talking about cooking? Like, is it just, how sophisticated are we going?
What they do at the Naughty Pig is they set up the box with every single thing that you need to make that meal, and then a very easy to follow recipe for it. So even if you need, your garlic, your parsley, the little sides, it's not something you need to go buy. Everything's going to be in that kit, ready for you to go, and you're just going to follow Chef Daniel's instructions and execute it, and then pair it up with our wines.
Okay, and I'm on the website looking, so you can sign up on the website. It's $99 plus tax, 1 bottle of wine, a meal for 2, and then 4 complimentary tastings at the winery.
Yep, and then you also get a discount at the butcher shop. So you're going to get, if you're a regular shopper at the Naughty Pig, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Might as well sign up for this. You're going to get a cool experience. invited to cool dinner events, and then experience get a better price out on your meat at Naughty Pig.
That's a great idea.
Love it.
I
That's a
kind
great
of am
idea.
obsessed with this idea.
Thank you.
Like it a lot.
Well, then we'll kick it over
Akash,
to.
you're not just handsome, you're smart too.
Sorry, it cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh no!
I said you're not just handsome, you're smart too.
I think he just wanted to hear you say it twice.
That was the worst time for it to cut out, right?
You go back and watch it. I said it twice. So meanwhile, my husband's gonna watch it and be like, "Oh boy, no, you can't go to Akash."
Well, and then how about you, Heather? How's
Yeah, well, I just want to say first off, I might have to buy my husband the Naughty Pig thing, because even though I'm vegetarian, the Naughty Pig is probably his favorite store in town. So that says a lot about the vegetarian and the carnivore. So how our wine club works, it is completely free to be a member. There's no sign-up fee. You are allowed to come every single day of the year except Thanksgiving and Christmas, because we have families and we are closed those 2 days of the year. Otherwise, we are open every single day. You plus 3 guests, so a total of 4 people, can come every single day to Danza del Sol for either a complimentary glass of wine or a complimentary flight. Currently, we have 10 preset flights, that you can choose from. You get 20% off your wine, 25% off cases. If you are military, we give 30% off for our military. We also own Mesilla de la Viña, so you don't have to sign up there, but you can if you'd like to. By being a member at Danza, you will get half off, 50% off your tastings or by the glass over there, and 10% off your wine. You also get 10% off merchandise. What's the catch here is quarterly. So every 3 months, December, March, June, and September, you will be getting 3 bottles. It's 3 bottles of your choice. We just make suggestions. There is the Barrel Club, which is all reds, the Cellar Club, which is all whites, the Winemaker, which is a combination of red and white, and the Sweet Club, which is going to be sweets. But as we know, as we kind of discussed earlier, that sometimes your wine journey changes. You start off as a sweet drinker, and then you get into big, bold reds, and then you like really dry whites, and then you're kind of like, I like everybody. Let's all hang out. So we just suggest 3 bottles for you when the quarterly pickup comes. If you do not like what we suggest, you can switch for anything that's on our current menu. For the first 60 days, those wines are available to you. If you're doing pickup, we do pickup. Or right now we're currently doing $10 shipping. If you're having it shipped to you, we will send you an email saying this is what's in your shipment. If you don't like what we selected, you email back, hey, I actually want ABCD instead of what we pre-selected. If you're doing pickup, you can come at any time. You don't have to come at the beginning, December or June or March. It'll be available for you for the first 60 days. If you don't come to pick up for after 60 days, it's open to the public. So that when you do, we have people sometimes that come a year later, sometimes people get pregnant or COVID. There's been a lot of things recently. So the only thing might be that we don't have that current vintage. We're just a small winery. We only produce anywhere from 2 to maximum 400 cases of our wine. So really you can, and you also get discounts off tours. We're just starting to trickle those back in now of just numbers of 4. And Black Friday is next Friday. We are doing 40 to 50% off on cases for club members, 40% off all of our merch. You are free to shop from home, safe and sound. You can either do it online or call in as club members, and you can do that. And we'll either do $10 shipping or we'll hold it those wines for you until you come. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I guess I should let Devin. If Devin has any last minute notes for the Temecula Wine Valley in general.
Am I an afterthought, James? I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I was really thinking like it was hard to say. So tell me about your wine club.
I don't have one.
Cherry on top. You're the cherry on top. You're the finishing touch.
I want to reiterate everything that everyone has said. There truly is an experience a winery for every type of wine drinker, novice to pro, sweet drinker to bone dry. We've really encapsulated sort of everything by talking about how warm and welcoming the region is. The climate is perfect for making world-class wines. It's a Mediterranean climate. We've got cool evenings, long sunny days, well-draining soils. So we've got all the ingredients that create not only incredible wines, but the warm and welcoming personalities, the warm and welcoming vibe, and that SoCal laid-back spirit that I think we're all looking for right now. So once things open up, I hope everybody comes to visit. I think we all need to do like one big barbecue with the naughty pig and some wine. Make it happen.
See, I noticed that Akash left right as you were saying, like, we should go over to Akash's place.
I'm in.
To do the grilling.
And some curry and some veggies for Heather.
Right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe some grilled portobellos.
That
lots of-
garbanzo bean
the
dip
meat
he
of
was talking
vegetables.
about. That garbanzo bean dip.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Count me
You know
in.
it's going to be good.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this has
And
been so much
everything
fun.
from John's amazing new cookbook will go.
Yes.
And
Oh,
John,
you guys are nice.
where can people find your cookbook?
Amazon. It's just go to Amazon and search for Cookbook for Men, which is silly because it's like recipes for anyone, but the publisher thought that would be very marketable. So Cookbook for Men, and it'll pop up. And my name's Jon Bailey. And it looks like this.
I am buying this for both of my brothers. Hopefully they're not watching. They now know their Christmas gift.
And honestly, Tania, when you were talking about not being a cook, like this is made for you because it's
I know how to
very
cook.
easy.
I just don't cook.
okay. Even better.
There is no love in my home for cooking. So there are multiple bodies with all different taste buds, and pretty much half of them who want just like cheese on some sort of bread product. So there's no joy in cooking. So I went on strike about 5 years ago.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy Thanksgiving. Definitely do what you can to protect yourself, to protect your family, protect your community. And I'm not sure when we'll be back again, but I can't wait to talk to my Temecula friends. Again, definitely it's an area that deserves more attention than it's gotten so far.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for organizing
Cheers.
this.
Thank you.